Day 216 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all. Today we have question number 150. Evaluate reverse Polish notation. The difficulty level is medium, but we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand, y'all. So let's get into it. The question says, you are given an array of strings tokens that represent an arithmetic expression in reverse Polish notation. Evaluate the expression. Return an integer that represents the value of the expression. Note that the operators are the plus sign, the minus sign, the star sign, and the slash sign for multiplication and divide. Each operand may be an integer or another expression. The division between two integers are always tourniquets towards zero, which means they basically round towards zero. There will not be any division by zero. The input represents a valid arithmetic expression in a reverse Polish notation, and the answer and all of the immediate calculations can be represented in a 32-bit integer. So let's look at the example so they know what they mean, specifically what reverse Polish notation means, right? So let's copy and paste this and bring this over here so I could explain it a little better to y'all, right? So what this reverse Polish notation is, what we're going to do is, so we come right here and we see that it's a plus sign, right? So this plus sign, once we run into one of these operators, right, we are going to apply it to the previous two numbers or values, integer values, right? So in this case, we're going to apply this plus sign to this 2 and the 1. So it's going to look like this. Excuse me, y'all. We're going to bring it down. It's going to look like this. The parentheses are important. I'll tell you why later. So boom, it's going to look like this. Now, when we come outside that, we have a 3 next. So then it'll be 3. Then we have this star sign, which is the multiplication sign, which applies to the previous two numbers, right? But remember, we already applied this to these two numbers, which is why these parentheses are important, because we're going to take this star sign and we're not going to apply it to the 3 and the 1, because the 3 and the 1 would already be a 3, right? We already added those together. So it'd be, right now, it'd be something like this. Imagine it's like this. So then we take this and we put it in between the 2 and the 3, right? So that's why we make sure to put it in parentheses, because we're counting these as the same integer. It's already done in its own integer. Maybe not the same, but its own integer, right? We're counting this as a 3. So we put the star sign, it would be like this. Boom. And then when we add these two, or when we multiply these two, that's when we get 9. And that's why the output looks like this, right? The output is 9. We just want the 9, but that's how we got the 9. The explanation looks like this, which is what we have right here, right? Except for the equals 9. But just remember, we're putting the operator signs in between the last two elements. If we already combine those elements with the operator, then we put those in parentheses, because then we know that we are including those two integers together, or we're completing the operation and then adding them. So if that was a little tricky, I understand. Let's go into example 2 so we can make example 2. We might can make it make sense in example 2. So let me copy and paste this again. Boom. We're going to bring it over here like so. Boom. Now let's get to it, right? In this case, we had the 4, 13, 5. Then we have two operators in a row, right? So let's do this. So right now we had the 4, then we had the 13, then we have the 5, then we had the slash sign, right? So that lets us know the slash is going to go between the last two operators, the 13 and the 5. We could wrap those in parentheses. And now we have 13 divided by 5 and 4, right? But we still have this plus sign. So we're going to take this plus sign and the last two operators. So remember, excuse me, let's put the plus sign in here too. So the plus sign goes to the last two operators. And remember, we're counting this as its own, two integers. Remember, we're counting this as its own integer. So we're going to put this outside of the parentheses and we're going to put it right here. So the next one would look like this. It would look like 4, then it'd be the plus sign, then it'd be 13 divided by 5. Boom. And then that would equal 6. Altogether, it would give us 6. Boom. So equal 6. And we could put the parentheses here as well, just in case there were more integers, then we would know this whole thing would be its own integer, right? So that's how we got this. It should look like this. Yep, except for the square brackets, but yeah, and that is why. So let's look at example 3, where it's a little bit more tricky because there's way more integers and elements in the array. So hopefully we could really bring it home and hammer it home here to make it make sense if it doesn't already. But just remember, once we put the first operator in between the first two integers, those become their own integers, like PEMDAS, right? So that means, so let's look at example 3 so we can make it make sense. So example, let me copy and paste this, boom, right? Copy and paste that like this. Then we come down here and let's get started, see how we do. First we'd have the 10, right? Excuse me. Then we'd have the 6. Then we'd have the 9. Then we'd have the 3. Then, okay, so now we come into a plus sign, right? So the plus sign, where do you think the plus sign will go? If you said in between the 9 and the 3, you were correct. So we could wrap parentheses around the 3 and the 9, like so. And then we put the plus sign in the middle, so we know that those two go together, right? Where's the plus sign? Boom. So then, now after the plus sign, we'd have a negative 11. So then we have negative 11. Then after the negative 11, we have a star, boom, for multiplication. So where do you think this star will go? You guessed it. If you guessed in between the 9 plus 3 and the negative 11, you guessed right. So we put the star right here, boom. Now we can wrap these in more parentheses to let us know that these, now this whole, now this is all one, we count this as all one element as well when we're dealing with the rest of these operators, right? So then after that comes the slash, the divided by sign. So where do you think we put the divided by sign? If you said between the 6 and these integers right here, you're right. So then we come right here, because those will be the last two integers, because remember, this is in parentheses, so this becomes its own integer now. So we put the slash right there, the divide right there, and now we can wrap this in parentheses so we know that this is now its own integer. Boom. Then we come on a star. So now we have a star. Where do you think the star will go? If you said between the 10 and the rest of the integers in the parentheses, then you guess right. So now you put the star right here, boom, because remember, this is its own integer, right? That's why we put it in parentheses, so we know that it's its own integer, boom. And now that we put the star right here, now we know that this is its own integer as well. So we could wrap this in parentheses as well, boom. So now we have 17, so we do 17. Then after the 17, we have a plus. Now this is pretty simple. I'm sure y'all know where the plus goes by now. Plus will go right here, because this is its own integer, and then we have the 17. So we put a plus right here, and we can wrap this in parentheses. Boom. So we know that this is now its own integer. Then after the plus, we have a 5. So then we put a 5 right here. Boom. Then guess what? We have a whole nother plus, right? So now the plus will go, you guessed it, right here. Boom. So we put the plus right here, and we could wrap this in parentheses. I mean, we don't have to because we're done now, but that should be, yes, that's how we got this right here. Should line up with this. Let's see if it lines up with this, but it should, right? Make sure we didn't make any mistakes. So we put that right there. And yeah, that's exactly how it is, right? So now that we have that, let's keep going. We would have to complete now we can complete the operations that are inside of these parentheses, right? So then that's how this would become this, right? Because where we at? Yeah. So now where we at? We did that. So now this will become this. Boom. Because let's see. Add it up. So now we added these 9 and 3 together. So now we have 12 times 11, right? That's where this 12 comes from the 9 and 3 that we just added together. And now it looks like this, right? And then the next operation would be we do 12 times negative 11. That's where we get this from. Boom, that 12 times negative 11 now becomes 32. So now we have 6 divided by, negative 132. So now we have 6 divided by negative 132 because we just completed this operation right here, got negative 132, and now we're looking at this right here. With everything else, we haven't got to that yet. So everything else is still the same. Then after that, we got to complete the next operation, right? The next operation, we have to round towards 0. So that's where this 0 comes from. This right here turns into 0 because we have to round to 0 after we complete the operation. So now we have 10 times 0 plus 17 plus 5, right? Then we have to do the next operation right here, which is right here. Boom. 10 times 0 will be 0. So now we have 0 plus 17, right? That's what this is. That's equal to this. This is equal to this, right? 10 times 0 plus 17 is equal to 0 plus 17 plus 5, right? Now we have to do one more. Oh, not one more. We have a few more operations left to go. Now we come right here. The 0 plus 17 is going to give us 17 plus 5. And 17 plus 5 is going to give us 22. Boom. And that's how we got to 22. And that's how the output is 22. Boom. Just like that, y'all. Just like so. So I hope that made sense to y'all. If you got to look over the video to really drill it home in your head to make it make sense and really understand, go ahead, start from the beginning and just watch it again, y'all. But you can do it. You can understand it. I know it seems a little tricky, but once you really understand what it is that they're asking, it'll click like that. Y'all just get right to it. So now let's get into the solution, right? Before we get into the solution, if you need any new Apple AirPods, check out the description. Then go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's go see how we're going to solve this problem. And the solution is actually, y'all, not that difficult at all. First thing we are going to do, we're going to use a stack. So we're going to declare a variable called stack. We're going to set that equal to an array of integers. That's going to be our stack. And we're going to initialize it with a blank array. Then we're going to come down here. We're going to say for token in tokens, open up the brackets. We're going to say stack dot append, open up the parentheses, number. Then, y'all, before we do that, we have to come right here and we have to say, let's get rid of this real quick. Boom, we could delete that, or not delete that, but cut that. We could cut that because first we have to say if let number. First we have to convert the token into a integer, because right here, remember, right now we're working with a string. We have to convert it to an integer. So first we're going to say if let number equals int, open up the parentheses, token. What that is going to do is it's going to convert token into an integer, and we're just going to call that number. Then we're going to come down here. Now we could paste that back, and we're going to say stack.append number. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to say else, open up the brackets. We're going to say let declare constant called a, or we could start, it doesn't matter. We'll start with B. We'll say let declare constant called B. We're going to set that equal to stack dot remove last. Then we're going to do the same thing, declare another constant called A. We'll set that equal to stack dot remove last. Then we're going to come down here. We're going to start a switch statement, y'all. So we're going to say switch token, open up the brackets. We're going to say case quotation marks. We're going to put the plus sign. Then we're going to put the colon after that. We're going to say stack dot append, open up the parentheses, A plus B. Then we're going to come down here. We're going to do the same thing for the negative sign. So we're going to say case, open up the quotation marks, put put the minus sign in there. We're going to say colon. We're going to say stack dot append, open up the parentheses, A minus B. Then we have to do it for all the operators. So we're going to say case, open up the quotation marks. This time we're going to put the star, and we are going to say, put the colon, then we're going to say stack dot append, open up the parentheses, A times B. Then we're going to do the last one for divide. We're going to say case, open up the quotation mark, slash, come outside, we'll say colon, we're going to say stack dot append, open up the parentheses, A slash or divided by B, just like that. Then we're going to come down here and we are going to say default, just a default for our switch statement, and we're just going to say break. Then we're just going to come down here and we are going to say, hold on y'all. So we're missing a bracket. So we could add a bracket. I don't know how that got messed up, but we need to add a bracket. I need to add a bracket. I don't know if y'all need to add a bracket. But then we're going to say return stack dot first question mark 0, because it's optional. So let's run it, see how that runs. Hopefully it runs like it's supposed to. Okay, what does it say? Expected bracket. Oh, that's because we didn't put a bracket after the switch. After the if statement. That's why we needed 2 brackets. We already put the bracket down here, but we had to add one up here too for the if let. So now let's run it again. Okay. Cannot assign immutable expression int type. So let's see. Oh, excuse me. It should not be 2 equal signs. This should be a colon. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that. I was moving too fast. That's my fault. And it's accepted, y'all. So let's submit it. Make sure it stays accepted, y'all. And let's see. Ooh, look at that, y'all. 0 milliseconds beats 100% of users with Swift, y'all. That's what I like to see. That's pretty fast right there. Now, I hope y'all learned something today, and I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. Like I said, if you didn't really understand what the reverse Polish notation is, and you need to go over and reinforce the examples that we went over, don't be afraid to go back and go back to the beginning of the video and look at how the reverse Polish notation works, y'all, so you can really understand it, and then that'll just make you a better programmer, y'all. You gotta go the extra mile, And yeah, I hope y'all learned something today. Get one more look at the code, and I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.